WRQ Valdosta, online at myrock108.com. We are Rock 108.
Live from Austin's Cattle Company, thank you to all of our sponsors, including our title sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union, Peaceway, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girard & Jewelers, Blanton & Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Print Company. Let's put our hands together for a brand new season of Blazer football. And let's turn it over right now to David Schmidt and head coach of the Blazer football team, David Dean.
All right, Coach, another season. I know you must love football, but having the summer off must be nice, but you really have to like coming back and seeing a big crowd and everybody ready for that first game.
I do. I tell you, it kind of all kicked off today at our booster luncheon. We had a very large crowd at that, and then a nice crowd here tonight, and it kind of puts it all into perspective. It's game week. It's here, and we're less than 5 days away from kicking it off.
And you guys had your Meet the Blazers again this weekend, very successful, even though it wasn't quite as pleasant as it was last year. But you had a good showing for that. I know the guys have a lot of fun. I know they've been chomping at the bit to get out there and hit somebody else. It's a good thing they didn't take it out on the youth, but they're ready to go too, aren't they?
They are. They're ready. It was a lot of fun doing the Meet the Blazers. I think that those kids enjoy going out there and tackling our players. I think every coach on our staff at one point or another was tackled and brought to the Bazemore Hyder field, and including myself right there before we had to go into the locker room. But it's a lot of fun, and it kind of, I told our guys this is a way that we finish off camp. This is a way for us to kind of go out and enjoy ourselves, have a little bit of fun, give back into the community. And once you walk off of there, it kind of all starts hitting to you that tomorrow we start our preparation in game week of getting ready for Wingate and all that. But our guys, like you said, they're ready to hit somebody else. We're tired of hitting each other. That's what we've done for 3 weeks. We've been in some extreme heat. It's been a very, very brutal camp as far as heat is concerned. It's been a very physical camp. We've gotten a lot of hitting in since we had a lot of time to go. You don't have the opportunity to have two-a-days anymore. We only had one two-a-day practice, which is almost unheard of now. So we had to do a lot of hitting over a long period of time in practice and getting ready for the season. And, I think our kids are tired of beating on each other, and they're ready to hit somebody else.
What's your thoughts so far on that big change going away from the 2 days? I know, it's important that you put them through a test and really stretch their limits, but at the same time, the way things have been going lately, a lot of player safety and a lot of issues that have happened. So where do you stand coach-wise? Obviously, you care about their well-being, but is it preparing them enough for when they do start hitting each other that they've built everything up?
Personally, I don't think it is. I know the intent of the rule is good, but they still limit you down in the number of practices that you can have, and I don't think that's right. This sport is very physical. It's very demanding. It's demanding on your body. And for you to have to get that number of full live scrimmages in that short amount of time is very scary. And I don't like the way that they do it now. I understand the intent of the rule. If they were going to do it, I wish they would allow us a little bit more time on the front end. And I've been a proponent of this from the get-go, back the season up. You don't need to start it in August. Let's start it, sometime in September, mid-September or something like that, at least when it's a little bit cooler. But, we've got a lot of kids that come in here and they go through 1 week of practice and then they start school. And it's enough shock that they're leaving home for the first time and going through what they're going through on the practice field. And then 6 or 7 days later, they've got to start classes. To me, I think it would be better if they would allow us to come in and have that week where we could prepare our kids and then start school, and then have 2 or 3 weeks after that before we ever start to play a football game. I think it would be better for the student athletes, and I think it would be better condition for all the players that end up going out there to play.
And I guess the situation in this case is, again, they have that intent to be safe, but they don't have the data built up yet. So we really don't know if it is beneficial. And unfortunately, if it turns out not to be, you're only going to find that out by
Sure.
players getting hurt or
By
being
players
pushed too
gonna
far.
Well, the thing that's really scary is if you have a player that for whatever reason is injured in camp. Let's say he pulls a hamstring or he has a shoulder injury. He's going to miss 3 or 4 days of practice. Well, that's 3 or 4 days of conditioning. Well, in that short amount of time that you're trying to get your players ready to play, he's missing those 4 or 5 days. And to me, that's just a safety issue. He's not in the heat. He's not running around like the other players do. And then all of a sudden he's put into a game situation and he can't handle that heat. And it goes both ways. But to me, it's a little bit scary when you have a guy that, for us, we've got some guys that have not practiced because of some injuries. They're probably not going to make the trip with us this week because of that very fact. We just don't know how they're going to be able to handle the stress and the heat and the pounding because they've missed so much of the camp.
Speaking of the heat, do you remember it being this consistently hot like it was through this entire late summer?
I really don't. I don't remember it being this warm. And, for us, from a standpoint of our new practice facility that we have that one field now that is the field turf, the synthetic turf that has the rubber pellets in there. You walk from the grass field to the synthetic field, and it's literally a 15-degree difference. Well, obviously, we've done a lot of work on that synthetic field so our guys can get used to that heat. But we've also had to be smart on the days it is really, really hot. We've had to back off and go to the grass area over there so they won't be subjected to that heat for an extended period of time. But I do not ever remember it being this hot. We've had 4 or 5 days that have been like this, but they've been spread out. I mean, it seems like every day we were in the upper 90s, and there's been a couple of days this past week that we were over 100. I know one day we practiced, and we finished up practice at 5:30, and it was 102-degree heat index at 5:30, and that's kind of scary.
And that doesn't count that heat coming off.
And it's you're adding another 15 degrees right there.
As I was preparing to talk about things tonight, I was looking back on the off season and what was different about this year from the last couple of years. And the thing that jumped out the most was probably more so than the first year you took over, and obviously that was a lot for you to handle because it was all brand new. This has definitely been the most change that has occurred in so many different facets of the game. One of the positive ones is having those fields right there outside the field house to practice. Tell us what that was like and what that was, how beneficial that's been to not have to load kids up in the pickup trucks and take them down the street.
Well, there's no question. That has been the biggest change, the most positive change, really since I've been here, since I came back in 2000. That has been the most positive change that has happened to that football program. Getting that building, the new field house that we moved into a little bit over, I guess right about 2 years ago now, that was big. But having those practice fields is just huge. We're getting, as we figure it as coaches, we're getting about an extra 2 hours a week preparation time with our players because we get to meet a little bit longer. We don't have to shuttle them to practice now. And you're talking about shuttling 100-something players to practice in 3 or 4 vans. That's about a 20-minute process. Well, then you also have to get them out early so they can get to the vans and go. And, we were losing about 30 minutes of preparation time per day just before practice. And then when you have some guys that have evening classes, they have to leave early. Well, you have to allow an extra 10 or 15 minutes for them to get back to the van, drive back up there, unlock all the doors and get them in, so forth and so on. So that has been the biggest positive that we have had. The fields are beautiful. They're great. The soccer field over there is just a great touch to what we have. Somebody brought me the other day, they were flying over and brought me a picture, is looking down on it, and it's really, really impressive to look at it. It's state of the art. It's as good as it can go. We've had a lot of people that have come to upgrade the facility over there. Carlton Construction has done a lot for us, but guys like Tom Odom, Chuck Dunman, Marty McGinn, David Hires, Leela Fowler, And we've never had that before, and it's mounted right there on the tower. We had the void sheet metal. They brought over our tower from Reams Field, and it's such a pleasant atmosphere to go out to practice and have all of that right there. And our kids love it. Our kids are very, very proud of it. And it's not where they play, but it's something that they call their own, and it's something that they call their home.
That's what I was kind of thinking. It's kind of like if you get a nice set of new uniforms, and it kind of brings about a different approach to what you're doing because they have this ownership and something that they're proud of. So what kind of difference have you seen?
Well, I think the biggest difference was this summer. We had a lot more kids stay around this summer in anticipation of getting out there on the field. And once the fields were turned over to us and we were able to use them, we had an enormous amount of folks that were going out there throwing 7-on-7. And, of course, they can't do that with coaches. That's completely volunteer. I looked out there one day from my office, which is really a good little deal. I looked out of my office out there, and we actually had 11-on-11 out there. They were playing actually a scrimmage without helmets or shoulder pads or anything like that. The offensive line was pass protecting. They were rushing. They were throwing the ball down the field. And they were actually playing a touch football game out there, 11-on-11. And we've never been able to say that, never been able to do that. And I think that having those fields was the biggest reason for that.
Now, has there been a tactical difference, too, as far as what you can practice now, things that you can do that you couldn't do on Reams Field besides avoiding gopher holes?
Well, that's been the biggest thing. But, now with us having two fields, our defense can work on a field and the offense can work on a field. We've been able to throw the ball down the field much farther as opposed to only having to practice on half the field. And because of that, if you had an opportunity to watch our first scrimmage, we hit 3 or 4 deep balls. And that's the reason for that. Our timing for the deep balls is much better now because we're able to use an entire field, and our quarterbacks can actually lay the ball out there and force our wide receivers to run, go get it, instead of having to pull back on throwing the football because they're going to run into the huddle down there on the other end of the field.
Clip a defender
yeah,
on the other that's not even facing the game. And explain that you have the two different surfaces there. That'll help you through the season to allow you to basically practice for the conditions that you'll be playing in. Is that the main reason for the
main reason was with having the synthetic field, if we ever had poor weather, lots of rain, we don't have to tear up our grass field. We can do everything on that, or we can limit down what we do on the grass and then move over to the synthetic field. And last year we've played in our 11 ball games, we played I think 9 or 10 of them on the synthetic surface. This year it's a little bit different. We've got 4 or 5 that are on grass and 6, I think, that are on the synthetic surface. So we'll bounce back and forth depending on the week. Like this week we're playing on a grass field. So it enables our kickers and all the different things that we do in our special teams to be working on the grass. And obviously when we have a synthetic field that we're going to play on, we now have that to work off of instead of having to go into Bazemore Hyder Stadium and dodge junior varsity games and middle school games and different things like that.
Now, one of the strangest things I saw this summer over by the field, he had all these big guys in those tubs. Now, are you trying to grow more players? That was like a watering system. Well, that was bizarre.
There's a few of them that we'd like to grow. There's a few of them that we want to drown. So we.
But no names.
I'm teasing.
No names.
I'm teasing. That is something that we do, obviously, is to cool their bodies down, but it also helps them get their legs back up underneath them. They get in a cold tub that is full of ice water, and they sit in it from their waist down, and I'm really not sure what it does, but I know that what it does to your body, but I know that it helps them get their legs back. Our players really feel like that their legs recover much quicker between practices when they get in those cold tubs.
It just looked, again, some of those big guys, it looked like, some little kid with the little swimmy floating device around them. They were so tight in. I mean, has anybody gotten stuck yet? Or?
Well, not yet. We did.
Notice we say yet.
We did have one that was walking over to the tub and caught a full body cramp and went down head first into the tub. When we had to yank him back up there. and before we could get him in and let him cool off. But that's probably the most dangerous thing that we've had happen so far.
All right, Coach. Well, we're back here at Austin's Cattle Company, big crowd. So if you have a chance, come on out. We'll take our first break, but as we come back, we'll keep on talking about a lot of the big changes that have happened and will be leading to a hopefully very successful 2011 football season.
We'll be back with more from the David Dean Coaches Show. Thank you to our sponsors, our title sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union. Also thank you to Peaceway, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girard & Jewelers, Blanton & Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Printco. We'll be back with more from the David Dean Coaches Show, live from Austin's Cattle Company, right here on Rock 108.
There is absolutely nothing better than Friday night football in South Georgia. Don't you love it? Some of the nation's most elite players crashing helmets and blitzing the field to utterly, totally dominate their opponent is so relaxing. The sight and sound of tens of thousands of rabid fans screaming with every snap will rumble your soul. And don't even get me started on those power ballads during the halftime show. Man, it doesn't get any better. And to all of the opposing teams and their visiting fans, we love you, but you're going down. This is what we do, and this is how we roll. Tradition is here, and the future is now. It's Friday night football, folks. The trumpets are sounding, the air is thick, and victory is just 4 guaranteed action-packed quarters away. Brought to you by Southeastern Federal Credit Union, a very proud sponsor of South Georgia football.
It's a world of endless meetings, a place where the copier's always jamming and cubicle dwellers always dream of better digs. Yeah, this is the typical American office, and come 5 o'clock, this is America's beer, Budweiser. It's brewed with the finest natural ingredients for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment.
Budweiser, the great American style lager.
Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, what do you have? It's the what'll you have moment. You want a light beer, right? But you also want real beer taste. Michelob Ultra. Smooth, refreshing, perfect taste. 95 calories and 2.6 grams of carbs. That's the smart choice. So what will you have?
Yeah, a round of Michelob Ultra. Mich Ultra, you got it.
Live life to the ultra. Please drink responsibly. 2009 Anheuser-Busch Incorporated Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. 95 calories, 2.6 grams carbs, 0.6 grams protein, and 0 grams fat per 12 ounces.
Shopaholics and people who hate shopping have one thing in common. Neither likes to shop for insurance. At Grange Insurance, we get that. That's why we recommend buying through independent agents.
Let Blanton & Griffin do the shopping for you. Blanton & Griffin will look at a variety of insurance companies and recommend only the best ones. Companies like Grange, who offer great value and exceptional claim service. Call Blanton & Griffin today at 247-6500.
Products not available in all states.
Man, don't you just love this time of year? Football, cooler weather's just around the corner, and hitting that little white ball. Black Crow Media, Wendy's, and the Dave Thomas Foundation look forward to making a difference every year with our annual golf tournament at Kinderloo Forest. Last year, we had a terrific participation with all the proceeds going to the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. If you participated before, you know it's a great day for a great cause. Mark it on your calendar now, Tuesday, September 20th. Kinderloo is in the best shape it has ever been, and this year the prizes are unbelievable, so don't wait. Contact your sales rep today to be a sponsor or pull a registration form off of ValdostAtoday.com, then fax it back to 229-242-7620. That's 229-242-7620. Come out and have some fun and support a wonderful cause, the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. Tuesday, September 20th with a 1 o'clock shotgun start. Volunteers are welcome. Special thanks to our sponsors, Wendy's, Griner Nissan, Tatum Insurance, Bob's Outlet, New Smile Family Dentistry, and Steele's Jewelry.
You're listening to the David Dean Coaches Show.
103, 1, 2, 3.
On Rock 108.
Welcome back to the David Dean Coaches Show, live at Austin's Cattle Company. Thank you to our title sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union. Also thank you to KFC, Peaceway, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girard & Jewelers, Blanton & Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Printco. Now let's take it back to David Schmidt and head coach David Dean.
All right, Coach, again, we're talking about change and a lot of stuff that happened from last year leading into this year that'll have an effect on it. The Fieldhouse is one. Guess one that maybe people might have forgotten, but they will definitely notice as they pay attention to the schedule, was that the Gulf South Conference itself is going through a big change. And, we don't have those Arkansas teams. We'll still be playing some this year, but that's pretty much it. But there's some teams kind of coming and going as we go forward from here.
Well, that's the Gulf South Conference, as far as football is concerned, is really up in a lot of turmoil right now. This year in the 2011 season, there's only 5 teams that are fighting for the Gulf South Conference championship. That's us, West Georgia, Delta State, North Alabama, and West Alabama. We'll still have 4 Arkansas schools or three Arkansas schools still on our schedule, but they will not count like they normally would as a Gulf South Conference game because they form their own with some Oklahoma schools. So although we will still play them, they are not counting in the standings. So our last 4 games of the season are the conference games, so to speak. And unfortunately, we could end up going 0-6 and winning the last 4 games and win the Gulf South Conference championship, which doesn't seem right. But hopefully that's not going to happen. But it's a lot of turmoil. Shorter University, which is up in Rome, Georgia, is joining the Gulf South Conference. They already play football, so it's good to see them. I think they're going to go on our schedule next year. Florida Tech, which is in Melbourne, Florida, they're in the Sunshine Conference. Nobody in the Sunshine Conference plays football. They're starting football. They're going to move into the Gulf South Conference. I still hear a lot of talk about West Florida in Pensacola is going to start probably around 2014, 2015, somewhere around in there. Obviously, they're already in the Gulf South Conference, so that picks up 3 more Gulf South Conference schools. There's still talk about New Orleans. I've heard they're in, I've heard they're out, I've heard they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. I mean, I don't know. It's they're in and out. It's so much I haven't counted on that. You can't do that. So I really don't know where they are and where that stands, but I know that those 3 are joining. 2 of them are a little bit down the way, but at least we'll have shorter next year, which will take us to 6 games in the conference.
Yeah, again, all I hear about New Orleans is that they are in, but then it seemed like these other groups have kind of come in and said, well, wait a second, we're better than Division II.
Yeah.
We don't want that. And so how much power they have in the long run, I guess, is what's put that in such flux.
Yeah, there's so much politics involved in it, and that's why I try to stay out of it. You're a football coach. You don't want to get involved in politics or anything like that. So whoever's on our schedule, we're just going to line up each week, and hopefully we're going to play to the very best of our ability, maybe come away with a victory. And at some point or another, if they put us on the schedule and they get in the Gulf South Conference, then whatever they assign us to do, if it's to travel to New Orleans or if they travel here, we'll line up and play.
Well, now, one of the changes that happened is you did get Albany State back on the schedule for this year, at least right now. You'll be traveling to Albany State, which I think is not a bad gig. If you had to travel there every year, I think that's still a good game to put on your schedule and to step up and have that rivalry. Where's the talk of that growing further on down the road?
Well, I think it's going to continue to. I think we're going to continue to continue this rivalry. We're going to continue to play it. We will not play it next year. Our schedule and their schedule does not coincide with an open date. So this is really a one-year thing. We will play this year, not next year, and then pick it back up again in the 2013 season. But it's great for us to play Albany State. I mean, we dropped Lambeth University. I say we dropped.
They disappeared.
They dropped their school. So we had to pick up a game. Albany State basically had the same open date and was looking for a game, and that's how it all kind of worked out. So for us to have to travel an hour and 15 minutes to Albany, Georgia to play as opposed to 10 or 11 hours to Lambeth University to play in Jackson, Tennessee, that was a great trade-off. But it also is a marking point for us as a football program. We'll play against a lot of guys that we recruited. They'll play against a lot of guys that they recruited. A lot of them went to high school and played high school football with and against each other. So it's a huge rivalry, but it's also kind of a marking point for us to find out how we are in the region. With them being in the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference and us being in the Gulf South Conference, it's huge as far as playoff implications are concerned when you start talking about strength of schedules.
Now, any word of Fort Valley? Because I do remember reading something last year that the coach specifically quoted his desire, and he named Valdosta State by name, to play the best so he could measure himself against the best.
Right.
Measure the team against the best. I know schedules are kind of put out in advance, so you can't just snap your fingers
right.
most often, but is there still talk, or is that getting closer to becoming
Yeah, it's my understanding that in the 2012 season, Fort Valley is on our schedule, so we will be playing Fort Valley. I do not know the location, if it's here or if it's there, but they will be on the schedule for next year. And again, that's another one. That's, you're looking at a 2-hour trip to go play a football game. It just makes sense.
Right.
When you're at this level to play so many of those close games as opposed to going 12 hours or so to try to play schools in Arkansas.
Now, you do have the 3 Arkansas games on your schedule. Unfortunately, you actually have to travel for 2 of those.
So back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, back-to-back. So who did you make mad, and what happened there?
Well, we're constantly making people mad. I think that's our middle name is Valdosta, Make People Mad State.
Now, when you say we, is it mostly you?
It's mostly me, yeah. But we unfortunately got we're all into that deal. We've got to go to Arkansas, Monticello, and then turn around the next week and go back to Ouachita, or it's flip-flopped. I can't remember which way it is, but we will be going to Arkansas back-to-back weeks.
And, you talk about the Arkansas teams basically fleeing the conference, joining their – I love this. If you guys don't know, they signed up with 3 Oklahoma teams that you never heard of to form the Great American Conference. So the 6 Arkansas schools that, struggled to compete with the Delta States and the North Alabamas and the Valdosta States have now joined 3 Oklahoma schools for the Great American Conference.
That's right. And I really, I can't blame them one single bit. They have their own little league over there, basically with the Arkansas schools, and then Oklahoma's right there,
right.
As opposed to coming to Carrollton, Georgia, or to Valdosta, Georgia. Those were long trips to have to go every year. They're facing the same thing that we're facing, having to travel, having to pay for travel. When they could find a closer game and form a better conference within close region, I'd do the same thing if we were able to do it.
And today's day and age, obviously, budgets are a big deal, and more so, especially when you have those ancillary, the football and all that. But I'm kind of more at issue. Couldn't they have been called like the halfway decent American Conference?
Yeah, that's right.
Great American Conference. They're proud.
That's right.
Now, before we won't talk about specific games, but I'm curious about, as I looked at the schedule, we have the first home game is a game on TV at night. Do you like the TV games?
I do on the weekends, yes. During the week, no. It's hard preparation to try to get everything in before a Thursday night. But after the game on Thursday night, if you win, it sure does make that weekend a lot easier, because Friday you're not as pressed and you're not as nervous. I have an opportunity to sit at home and watch college football and critique other coaches like I get critiqued, and watch. Basically relax a little bit before we have to go back Sunday and kick it all over again.
But the reason I asked that is I was looking at the TV schedule for the Gulf South Conference, and VSU has 1 game. Everybody else had at least 2, with North Alabama being listed up for 3. So I just didn't know if you – again, I know the logistics of it are probably favorable to not have to do that, but at the same time, for the exposure,
right.
And you kind of wonder why is it so imbalanced if – you're dealing with 5 teams, and somehow we got 1, and
right.
they couldn't spread that evenly through 5 teams.
I don't know. The Arkansas schools did not want to play us on Thursday night. North Alabama was adamant about not playing us on Thursday night. Thank goodness they didn't ask us to go to Delta State on Thursday night.
Well, that's true.
And play. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But I know our track record on Thursday night has not been very good. So the least amount of Thursday night games we can play right now, the better. So, again, I don't know. I don't make that schedule. I don't have any input in that schedule. They ask us basically our opinion. Would you mind doing this? And we said yes. We'd play Newberry on Thursday night if that's what they want to do. So that's how it all came about. But we have no input on who they decide and who they choose. I know this, that it's with North Alabama and West Alabama, they're probably on there most of the time. the Gulf South Conference is based out of Birmingham, Alabama, so it's pretty easy to get there.
Right. And now going back to the conference shift too, we mentioned all the teams coming in. Can you even come close to explaining the 6-year transition period that North Alabama is starting this year to go to Division I?
Wow.
What exactly does that entail? 6-year transition.
I really don't know. I think they're going to play in the Gulf South Conference for 2 more years. Basically what you have to do is when you move up into that level, all of the players that you recruit as Division II athletes have to be out of your program before you can compete and go to the playoffs and so forth for your Division I, because there are different rules as far as recruiting is concerned with Division II and Division I. So that's what they do, and then probably in that 6-year period they're saying all of your Division II athletes will be getting out of there. For North Alabama, it really doesn't matter. They're a one-year deal, so it shouldn't affect them. It shouldn't affect them for 6 years. They should have all those guys out in a year.
That's what I was wondering, why it would take so long. Right. But now they've been a long-time rival. They go about things a little bit differently. But so they leave. Where do you stand? I mean, how does that make you feel from a coaching and a competitive standpoint?
Well, it's really kind of sad. I've been in the Gulf South Conference now. I think this is my 23rd or 24th year. And of all the schools that I have competed against in the Gulf South Conference, North Alabama is the one that we have competed against the most, or I have, just because several years we play them 2 times in the year, and I think 3 or 4 times I've done that. So, you play those guys a lot. You see them every year. It's a huge rivalry. It's a big game for our players. Our kids enjoy getting up to play those guys. I know they enjoy playing us. And to take that rivalry away is kind of, you look at it and it's kind of sad. But, that's something that they decided to do. They feel it's the best for them. The only thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we, as Valdosta State University, have some kind of plan, or the Gulf South Conference has some kind of plan of where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Right. Because if North Alabama leaves, now is West Georgia, who continues to talk about it every single year. And West Alabama, what are they going to do? Will they move into that Birmingham league over there with Stillman and Miles and those guys? Because it's easy for them to jump into that. So, if that's the case, we might be left holding the bag and being the only one and having to play a Division II independent schedule. And boy, you're talking about travel
the cost of that would be outrageous.
Then we're gonna have to go have about 10 fundraisers a year just to support our travel budget, and I'll be the first one to say I'm not for that. One fundraiser a year for me is enough. That's tough enough.
All right, again, we're at Austin's Cattle Company as we're getting ready to gear up for the 2011 Valdosta State Blazer football season. Come back, we'll talk more about what to expect.
Thank you to all of our show sponsors, including our title sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union, Peaceway Counseling and Mediation, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girardin Jewelers, Blanton and Griffin, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Print Co. We'll be back with more of the David Dean Coaches Show right here on Rock 108.
There is absolutely nothing better than Friday night football in South Georgia. Don't you love it? Some of the nation's most elite players crashing helmets and blitzing the field to utterly, totally dominate their opponent is so relaxing. The sight and sound of tens of thousands of rabid fans screaming with every snap will rumble your soul. And don't even get me started on those power ballads during the halftime show. Man, it doesn't get any better. And to all of the opposing teams and their visiting fans, we love you, but you're going down. This is what we do, and this is how we roll. Tradition is here, and the future is now. It's Friday night football, folks. The trumpets are sounding, the air is thick, and victory is just 4 guaranteed action-packed quarters away. Brought to you by Southeastern Federal Credit Union, a very proud sponsor of South Georgia football.
Valdosta Lighting Center, located at 418 Northside Drive, has been serving homeowners and businesses in Valdosta and the surrounding areas since 1974. They have a 14,000 square foot facility and offer the finest lighting with over 200 residential, commercial, and industrial lines to choose from. Valdosta Lighting Center's staff has over 125 years combined experience. They offer scheduled in-house or on-site consultations as well as after-hours appointments for your convenience. Call Valdosta Lighting Center at 247-1526 or visit them them online at ValdostaLining.com.
Peaceway Counseling and Meditation Services Incorporated has diligently served Valdosta and the surrounding communities since 2006 and is now offering DUI school. Their team of licensed professional therapists is dedicated to providing a variety of services which include marital counseling, substance abuse treatment, individual and family therapy, anger management, domestic violence, and DUI classes. Peaceway counselors pride themselves on integrity, commitment, and professionalism. Call today at 333-2351 or visit peacewaycms.com. Peaceway Counseling and Meditation Services, helping to put the pieces together.
Accuracy, reliability, perfection. Exacting standards and passionate faithfulness are at the core of the legendary Tag Heuer watch collection. These standards beat strong in the hearts of every football player and die-hard fan. Champions of accuracy, champions of quality. Tag Heuer's and Girard & Jewelers' winning team can't be beat. Girard & Jewelers, our area's exclusive dealer of Tag Heuer timepieces, proudly supports Coach David Dean and the Valdosta State Blazers. See the rebirth of an icon, the Tag Heuer Link Series, exclusively available at Girard & Jewelers.
It's a world of endless meetings, a place where the copier's always jamming and cubicle dwellers always dream of better digs. Yeah, this is the typical American office, and come 5 o'clock, this is America's beer, Budweiser. It's brewed with the finest natural ingredients for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment.
Budweiser, the great American style lager.
Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, what do you have?
Ah, it's the what'll you have moment. You want a light beer, right? But you also want real beer taste. Michelob Ultra. Smooth, refreshing, perfect taste. 95 calories and 2.6 grams of carbs. That's the smart choice. So what will you have?
Yeah, a round of Michelob Ultra. Mich Ultra, you got it.
Live life to the ultra. Please drink responsibly. 2009 Anheuser-Busch Incorporated Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. 95 calories, 2.6 grams carbs, 0.6 grams protein, and 0 grams fat per 12 ounces.
Experience the difference of Griner Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty. For over 50 years, customers in South Georgia and North Florida have relied on Griner for their automotive needs. Griner continues to offer the best possible prices and service that keeps you coming back. After all, relationships are what the difference is all about. Visit Griner Nissan on Inner Perimeter Road in Valdosta and online at GrinerNissan.com. Griner Nissan, a proud sponsor of the VSU Blazers and the David Dean Coaches Show.
Listen up. It's the David Dean Coaches Show on Rock 108.
Welcome back to the David Dean Coaches Show, live from Austin's Cattle Company. Thank you again to all of our sponsors: Southeastern Federal Credit Union, Peaceway Counseling and Mediation, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girard & Jewelers, Blanton & Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Print Co. Now let's go back to head coach David Dean and David Schmidt.
All right, Coach, continuing on the theme of change, I guess one big change that probably affected you the most and, really probably put a little more stress on you than you wanted to, more so than any other season, you had a lot of coaching changes this year. And I know it's got to be very bittersweet that you have these guys that you've been in the trenches with and that you want to be there, but yet they're going on to better things and different opportunities. And so you hate to lose them, but at the same time, you want to see them grow and advance their careers.
Well, there's no question. It's always a tough issue when you lose a coach, especially guys that you have worked with for quite a while and been with for quite a while. But you always want them to better themselves and better it for their family, and that's what they did. The problem that we had is when we lost the two coaches, and we lost them in a matter of 4 days. In June, late June,
yeah.
And that's almost unheard of to lose a coach that late, much less two. But I was awfully proud for Coach Arndt, Tyler Arndt, who got the offensive coordinator job up at Grayson High School. Again, Grayson's an outstanding football program up in Gwinnett County. They do a great job. Mickey Kahn's the head coach up there, and it was a great opportunity for him. He was able to go back home. He can use his degree now. That's something that he had worked on here at Valdosta State for a long time, and greatly increased his pay, which was something that he needed to do.
That's never a bad thing.
No. And then, of course, Coach Elsenrath, our offensive line coach, is now working for Russell Athletics, so he's out of coaching now. This actually happened last year. We thought we were going to lose him last year. It did not take place. The job opening came back around to him again, and it was something that he just really could not pass up. It more than doubled his salary. He gets to have a car now. They were paying a housing allowance. So, he goes from making peanuts here to doing really, really well. But he is out of the coaching profession now. He seems to be doing well. And, we're awfully, we miss him, but, we're awfully proud of him and proud of Beth and the kids. They're now financially, they're a lot more set than they would be here. And then probably the biggest loss, I won't say the biggest loss, but the early loss, and anytime you lose a coordinator, that's always tough. But to lose Joe Cawthon to Middle Tennessee State is always something that is tough to do. But I think our defensive staff has done a great job of stepping up in there. And it's funny, I was talking to Seth Wallace, who's one of our co-defensive coordinators, and he said, "Have you talked to Joe today?" And I said, "No, I have not talked to Joe." And he said, "I talked to him a little earlier today," and he said, "He sure does miss it down here." And I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah." He said he'd be giving anything right now to be preparing for Wingate University. Yeah. So, there's a guy that moves on to Division I that still misses Valdosta State, and that just tells you a little bit about how special this place is and how special this program is and how special the kids are here.
And that has to be a tough transition for someone like Joe, because here he was a coordinator, like you said, had a lot of influence and power. When you move up in cases like this, sometimes you have to kind of shift that power base, and he's gone to more of a position coach. Right. So not only is he moving and uprooting families, but he's losing some of that influence that he had on this team. So that has to be an interesting transition as well.
Well, normally you're making the decisions as a coordinator, and everything is on you as far as defensive game plan, and you make the final decision on everything. You do it as a group, but ultimately the final decision that's got to be made comes from the coordinator. And now he's not part of that. He's seeing some things up there that he would do differently, and sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And for somebody who's been a coordinator for so long, it's been very frustrating.
Especially with the track record he has.
Sure, and that's what I was fixing to say. Joe is an outstanding football coach, and at some point Joe is going to be a defensive coordinator at that level. He's that good. I really believe that we had a jewel here when we had Coach Cawthon, and he's going to be one of the outstanding coaches that you're watching on a ESPN here. Sometime they're going to be talking about what a good job he's doing wherever it is that he is putting his input and having his decisions being heard.
But with coaches leaving, you get new coaches coming in. It gives you a different perspective. It gives you a chance to see things differently or have different input. Now, a couple of the guys you filled were from internally, weren't they?
Right.
And then now you were very smart in the fact the one that you got from somewhere else, you went to Wisconsin to get him. So, that's shows how smart.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Coach Richmond, Andy Richmond, who has been the assistant offensive line coach at the University of Wisconsin, was a great fit for us. We had well over 90-something resumes late June when David Elsenrath left, and sorting through all those, narrowed it down to about 4 guys, talked to him on the phone, just really felt comfortable when I talked to him. When he came down for his interview, it just felt like a good fit. He had the great mentality that we needed to coach the offensive line. His knowledge of the run game was going to give us some different things that we could do as far as our run game is concerned. I really liked his approach to the pass game and how he protected the quarterback. So it was a natural fit, and I think he's done an outstanding job. I think our players really, really have responded to him, and they really are working hard for him. So we're very fortunate to have Coach Richmond here with us.
And then the other replacements you have?
Well, when Joe left, I had an opportunity to go out and hire a defensive coordinator. We had 2 outstanding coaches there in the program, one that was really knowledgeable of the back 7, and when I say the back 7, that's the linebackers in the secondary, and then we had another one that was a brilliant coach as far as the front 7, the defensive line and the linebackers. those two guys together, I really felt like would be a great fit for our players. Our players respect Coach Chambers and they respect Coach Wallace. They play hard for them. So to me, it was a natural fit. We didn't have to go out and find anybody else to come in and bring in different terminology, different philosophies or anything like that. We had that philosophy set, and those two guys have stepped in and done an outstanding job of preparing our players. They're great teachers. You know, we always try to hire coaches that are teachers, and that's what they are. Coach Chambers does as good a job as I've ever been around as far as defensive line play and teaching the technique of rushing the passer and playing pass or run defense. And then, Coach Wallace is very knowledgeable of the things that he can do in the secondary and the different coverages and disguises. And then, a linebacker coach is Bubba Walker. Coach Walker was with us last year, worked with Coach Chambers on the defensive front, and basically put together a lot of our pass rush packages, blitzes and twists and different things that we were doing up front. Very knowledgeable of what we were doing on defense. So to be able to move him to the linebacker position was really, to me, I think was an easy move, just putting those three guys in place.
And then now you do have a new receivers coach too, don't you?
Yes, we do. Derek Foster is a new receiver coach. He played at Southwest Baptist for Coach Robbie Brown, our quarterback coach. He's been at Troy University. Really excited to have Coach Foster here. When Coach Arndt left, I moved back to take over the wide receivers. So Coach Foster and I are kind of handling the wide receivers out there, and it's good to have a guy that's knowledgeable, has played that position like Coach Arndt did, because he can put his input into some things that he has done in his playing career, and having those fresh ideas has been very good for our guys.
All right, we'll take our last break. When we come back, we'll talk about the game coming up in Wingate, and we'll do a little update on one of our lost sons that have decided to move on to the NFL ranks.
We'll be back with more from the David Dean Coaches Show live at Austin's Cattle Company. Thank you again to our sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union, Peaceway Counseling and Mediation, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girardin Jewelers, Blanton and Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Printco. We'll be right back after this on Rock 108.
There is absolutely nothing better than Friday night football in South Georgia. Don't you love it? Some of the nation's most elite players crashing helmets and blitzing the field to utterly, totally dominate their opponent is so relaxing. The sight and sound of tens of thousands of rabid fans screaming with every snap will rumble your soul. And don't even get me started on those power ballads during the halftime show. Man, it doesn't get any better. And to all of the opposing teams and their visiting fans, we love you, but you're going down. This is what we do, and this is how we roll. Tradition is here, and the future is now. It's Friday night football, folks. The trumpets are sounding, the air is thick, and victory is just 4 guaranteed action-packed quarters away. Brought to you by Southeastern Federal Credit Union, a very proud sponsor of South Georgia football.
It's a world of endless meetings, a place where the copier's always jamming and cubicle dwellers always dream of better digs. Yeah, this is the typical American office, and come 5 o'clock, this is America's beer, Budweiser. It's brewed with the finest natural ingredients for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment.
Budweiser, the great American style lager.
Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, what do you have?
Ah, it's the what'll you have moment. You want a light beer, right? But you also want real beer taste. Michelob Ultra. Smooth, refreshing, perfect taste. 95 calories and 2.6 grams of carbs. That's the smart choice. So what will you have?
Yeah, a round of Michelob Ultra. Mich Ultra, you got it.
Live life to the ultra. Please drink responsibly. 2009 Anheuser-Busch Incorporated Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. 95 calories, 2.6 grams carbs, 0.6 grams protein, and 0 grams fat per 12 ounces.
Shopaholics and people who hate shopping have one thing in common. Neither likes to shop for insurance. At Grange Insurance, we get that. That's why we recommend buying through independent agents.
Let Blanton & Griffin do the shopping for you. Blanton & Griffin will look at a variety of insurance companies and recommend only the best ones. Companies like Grange, who offer great value and exceptional claim service. Call Blanton & Griffin today at 247-6500.
Products not available in all states.
Man, don't you just love this time of year? Football, cooler weather's just around the corner, and hitting that little white ball. Black Crow Media, Wendy's, and the Dave Thomas Foundation look forward to making a difference every year with our annual golf tournament at Kinderloo Forest. Last year, we had a terrific participation with all the proceeds going to the Dave Thomas Foundation for adoption. If you participated before, you know it's a great day for a great cause. Mark it on your calendar now, Tuesday, September 20th. Kinderloo is in the best shape it has ever been, and this year the prizes are unbelievable, so don't wait. Contact your sales rep today to be a sponsor or pull a registration form off of ValdostaToday.com, then fax it back to 229-242-7620. That's 229-242-7620. Come out and have some fun and support a wonderful cause, the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. Tuesday, September 20th with a 1 o'clock shotgun start. Volunteers are welcome. Special thanks to our sponsors, Wendy's, Griner Nissan, Tatum Insurance, Bob's Outlet, New Smile Family Dentistry, and Steele's Jewelry.
Blazer football talk. It's the David Dean Coaches Show on Rock 108.
Welcome back to the David Dean Coaches Show live at Austin's Cattle Company. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union, Peaceway Counseling and Mediation, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girardin Jewelers, Blanton & Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Printco. Now let's take it back to head coach David Dean and David Schmidt.
One of the most rewarding things I would have to think for a coach is to see these young men grow up and move on in their life. And obviously they can succeed in many other things besides football. But when they succeed in football, that has to, definitely be a big thing too. I know a lot of people are interested in Larry Dean, who was able to sign as a free agent with the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, he had to wait through all that strike mess before he would have signed much earlier, but it just didn't work out that way. But he's been in Minnesota, played 3 preseason games. Done very well. If you guys want to watch, if you have the NFL Network at home, they'll replay the game from the Cowboys tonight at 10 o'clock. And it's my understanding that he made the opening tackle on the kickoff. What have you heard? And things are looking very favorably, especially considering how far he's had to come being a Division II free agent.
Sure. It was a long summer for him waiting to find out where he was going to go, if anybody was going to pick him up. And he continued to work, put himself in a position that he could possibly do very well in a NFL with an NFL team. Today, the Minnesota Vikings released 10 players, and Larry Dean was not one of them. So he hung on for another week. The coaches up there really seem to like him. They like his attitude. They like the way that of his approach to the game, and all the same things that we continue to say about Larry Dean when he played here, those guys are saying the same thing. So it's exciting to see him so close. If he can make it this next week, he's got an opportunity to be playing in the NFL and playing for the Minnesota Vikings. I told him, I said, the only thing I don't like about you going to Minnesota is you got to wear that daggone purple.
Yeah, and play against the Packers.
Of all places, don't go somewhere that's purple. And of course, his comment to me was, it's just all colors now,
That's right.
Coach. It's all colors.
That's right.
But, we're excited for him. I talked to him last week. He felt like that he was doing really well. He sent a message to our players, which I read. Basically, he said that he misses everybody. He's pulling for us to have a great season. And he said, tell all the new players that not to count the reps, but to make the reps count. Right. And it's funny, that's what they're saying about him. When he has the opportunity to go in and participate, he's making every rep count. It was funny, another guy that we know that's part of the Minnesota Vikings up there was talking about Larry in meetings, and basically all the new guys that come in, the older players say, well, just go talk to Larry. Larry will get you straight on it. And, Larry finally said, hey, I'm fighting for my own job right here. Right. You learned it on your own. That's what I did. Yeah. So good for him, giving him an opportunity. But we also had 2 other players. Tommy Duhart, who was playing for the Carolina Panthers, played in 2009, He was released this week, so right now he's not playing for the Carolina Panthers. And then many of you remember Maurice Leggett. Leggett was with the Kansas City Chiefs and then went to this past year was traded to the Detroit Lions. Maurice broke his arm in training camp this year, and he was just released this week from the Lions. Right. So he's not with the Lions right now. He called us today to let us know that he had been released. So hopefully he's going to land somewhere else. He's played in that league for 2 years now, and I know he'll continue to work, and hopefully he'll have an opportunity to get back and play. But right now our thoughts and prayers and good wishes are all going to Larry Dean right now. He's doing great. He's representing Valdosta State University in Blazer football to the utmost, which we all knew that he would.
Looking online at one of the writers at the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, and after the Cowboy game, he made his observations of things he was feeling comfortable about with the team, things he was worried about. And one of the things he said he was comfortable about was kickoff coverage. And this was a quote straight out of this. And this guy, by the way, his name is Mark Craig. He's not just some blog writer. He is actually on the committee, one of 44 guys that selects players to be voted into the Hall of Fame. So this guy knows talent, and he's seen a lot of players. But this is what he wrote this weekend. Said, if I had the guts, I'd predict little Larry Dean makes the team. Says the undrafted rookie is a long shot, but last year's Division II Defensive Player of the Year has an instinct for football that shines in kick coverage. He darted between two blockers and made the tackle on the game's opening kickoff. So when you hear you have a player that has the fundamentals and all that other stuff, that has to feel good from a coaching standpoint. Plus Larry's just an all-around good guy, so that definitely translates as well.
He is. Well, there's no better representative of Valdosta State football than Larry Dean, and you know, I said this last year. I'll say it for as long as I ever coach. I don't think I'll ever be around another player like Larry Dean again. I mean, hopefully I will, but the guy's he has so many special qualities about him. He's one of those guys that if you ever say, I hope this guy succeeds, you truly mean it, and he makes the most of his opportunities, and that's what he's doing right now. So we wish him all the best.
I don't know how big this guy is, but I don't know that I'd ever call him little.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't call him little. He plays a lot bigger than he is.
Yes, he does. Well, believe it or not, we do have a game coming up on Saturday. I know we had a lot to talk about in the off season, but at this point too, I mean, there's only so much you can get ready for. You're basically preparing your team to execute because there's not really a lot of game planning you can do against a team. Even though you played them last year, things change so much at this level that looking at last year's tape is really not going to do much for you.
Well, it's not going to do a whole bunch. You just see how much they changed from our opening game until Albany State, who they played in the playoffs last year, and see if they started doing some things different. We've got about 5 games on them throughout the season, and we watched them in order from us all the way through Tusculum, Newberry, Mars Hill, all the way down to Albany State, to see if they were starting to evolve and do some different things, and they really haven't. They've stayed pretty much the same. Their offensive and defensive coordinators are the same. I don't see them doing a whole lot different. They have a lot of folks back off last year's team. Again, they got beat in the second round of the playoffs, beat Morehouse in the first round when we lost to North Alabama, and went to Albany State, and then Albany State beat them there. And then, of course, Albany State the next week lost to Delta State. But, they've got a lot of folks back, so I don't see them doing a whole lot of change. They're going to stay pretty much status quo. They play hard. They're well coached. They have good speed. They're not an exceptionally big team. They're a lot like us. They're not impressive-looking big, but they're impressive-looking with their speed.
Yeah. And, of course, you have a lot of decisions to make. You have a lot of new players coming in, a lot of position battles. And I'm sure a lot of people have come up to you and talked to you about a lot of different things. Set the record straight if you can. Who will be the holder on extra points?
Well, right now we're looking at Austin Roberts. I think Austin looks the best. He's getting the ball down the quickest. He does the great job with the spin and getting the laces out. So everything looks good as far as that's concerned.
And is he versatile enough to hold on the field goals too? Or?
He is, and if we ever get in a situation where we have a bad snap, hopefully we won't. He is a quarterback, so he can roll out and he can throw and make some plays in there. His voice is very commanding because he is a quarterback. He can get the kick team lined up. So He can make all the calls up there and not have to worry about being shy or anything like that. So I think it was a natural fit for us to put Austin in there. And then his backup is Justin Roberts, who's another quarterback.
But how tough is it to go to Justin and tell him, we've gone with Austin?
Well, it is tough. It's tough. Anytime you're fighting for a position, whether it be the starting quarterback or the starting wide receiver or the guy who holds the water bottle for the coaches. You take pride in that job, and Austin and Justin were fighting for that job, and it came down to Austin right now. So,
and we run out of time, so we can't get into the great details of all the other position battles. But we will find out. Of course, we won't want to give up too many secrets anyway. So, even if other things have been decided, at this point there'd be no sense in.
No, I've always been a very open guy as far as coaching is concerned. I mean, lay the cards out on the table and let everybody know exactly how we're feeling and what we're doing in the game plan. I have no problems with any of that. So, unfortunately, we're out of time today.
Yeah,
so
sometimes you email your game plan to the other team.
Let's make it a little tougher on us.
All right, for those of you that are traveling to the game on Saturday, travel safely. We're finally here. The season's here. We'll be back every Monday night at Austin's Cattle Company to talk about the wins each week as they build up. And we're here until the national championship banner is flying over Valdosta once again.
Thank you for listening to the David Dean Coaches Show live from Austin's Cattle Company. Thank you again to our sponsors, our title sponsors, Southeastern Federal Credit Union. Also, thank you to Peaceway Counseling and Mediation, KFC, Budweiser, Griner Nissan, Girardin Jewelers, Blanton and Griffin Insurance, Valdosta Lighting, and Georgia Print Co. We will have a special podcast available of this show in just a short bit on myrock108.com. Thank you again for listening to the David Dean Coaches Show on Rock 108.